members are on the call?
Yes. Let's see. Let's go through the whole committee. Daryl,
I am here.
Matt Johnson. Don't see Matt. Lindsay Hyduk.
I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Diana Rhodes.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hi. Emily Weiser. Don't see Emily. Jesse Doherty.
I'm here. Hi.
Hello. CB Brady. No CB. Monica Ratliff. Okay, no Monica. Katie Severin. And she's here. I think she's having some struggles with her audio, but I see you in the chat. Thanks, Katie. And Michael Williams.
Yep, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Great. And I did see that it looked like Matt joined us. Matt, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Great.
All right.
Thanks so much.
And this is Emily. I joined as well a little late because I tried to use the link in the calendar invite, and that may be an old one or something because it wasn't taking me anywhere.
Sorry, I did send out another one.
Yeah, I found the link through the page eventually, but the calendar invite might need to be canceled or something.
Okay, I'm not sure if we can do that from Joni's old account at this point, but I'll just be sure to send out an updated calendar invite each time, or at least for the next several.
This is Daryl. What I did earlier today, I noticed I had Joni's old calendar invite plus the new one. I deleted Joni's so I wouldn't get confused. So we can individually delete them off our computers. The one that lists Joni as the invitor, just delete it.
Good idea. Thanks, Daryl.
All right, that brings us to the public involvement announcement. AMAT's committee meetings are open to the public, and the public is provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting. Business items are presented by staff or consultants. After the committee discusses the business item, the public is invited to formally comment. Each participant will have 3 minutes to speak on their topic. A couple of housekeeping items. If you are not a member of the committee, please turn your camera off when you're not speaking on an item. If you are joining us by phone, to mute and unmute the microphone, press 6. And could I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. This is Matt Johnson.
This is Emily. I'll second.
Emily has seconded. Any opposition to accepting the agenda? Any additions?
I just have a couple, if that's all right, and they're just informational items. So happy to just bring them in towards the end. One is that we were hoping to discuss the meeting time, if possible, and then also wanted to add a brief update under the AMAT's project list, project updates from the UMed travel demand management plan, and I believe there's a third that I don't have right in front of me, but again, it's just a minor informational item that I can bring up towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah, that's no problem. Any opposition to accepting the agenda as amended? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda as amended is approved. Can I get a motion? Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes that were sent out? If everybody has had a chance to look at the minutes, as soon as you looked at them, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
This is Emily. I'll move to approve.
Do we have a second?
This is Mike. I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the June 5th, 2023 meeting. Do we need to make any changes, any edits that anybody has?
This is my first time doing the minutes for you guys, so hopefully and I didn't attend the meeting, so hopefully I did a relatively complete job based on the recording.
It looked really good to me. Great job. All
Thanks, sir.
right. Is there any opposition to approving the minutes of the June 5th meeting as written? Seeing and hearing none, the minutes of the June 5th meeting are approved. We have no action items tonight, so that moves us into general information. Chelsea, are you going to talk about the open seat?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Daryl. So just wanted to let everybody know, Carrie Shiflia from Alaska eBike has stepped away as the business organization member of BPAC. So we are looking to fill that spot. We weren't planning to put it out as a public notice, although realized in discussions that we'll defer to the will of the committee. If you all would like us to sort of put a public call out, we'd be happy to. But if on the other hand, you all have recommendations for folks that we should connect with specifically, we'd be happy to do that too. So not necessarily an action item other than directing staff to how we can best fill that role, or unless others would like to follow up with business community.
Chelsea, this is Daryl. So, could you clarify? So it says business organization. Are we looking like we've had individuals that, own businesses related to, bicycles or non-motorized transportation? Can it be any business organization?
That's a great question. I would defer to Aaron if he might know. Otherwise, I can look that up and get back to the committee if he doesn't know.
Yeah, it should at least relate to what the committee kind of has purview over. So active transportation. Now, that could be any form of active transportation or anything related to it. And if you want to make a connection, even if it's, kind of tenuous connection, I'm sure we can have discussions about that if needed.
So if we had a good applicant and their business isn't directly related, but they're an advocate for pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, or they have personal involvement, would that be okay?
I mean, I guess it depends on the business, but it really should be from a business or organization that's a business organization that is related to active transportation.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. It narrows the field a little bit.
And is it intended to be like an owner of the business, or can it be an employee or some other, do they just have to be representing that business?
Yeah, we don't specify whether it has to be an owner or not. So just any kind of representation from that business would be good.
Great, thanks.
So do committee members have any thoughts of whether we should have staff do any outreach, or do we want as individuals to do outreach? What do committee members think?
I see Katie has a question in the chat. Did staff have a person or persons in mind? Katie, we don't at this point. We'll defer to the committee, but happy to follow up if there are suggestions from the committee. again, or we can just put out a call if there's not a specific someone in mind.
Yeah, I'll put out some feelers through the Bike Anchorage Volunteer Network, just word of mouth at this point. I would be kind of curious to see what we got if we opened it up totally public. You know, it might reach some new folks. But yeah, either now or later, you know, maybe we can make the decision to do that later if we don't find anyone with word of mouth.
You know, why don't we give it a week or two? Members of the committee could reach out, and then if we can't find an applicant, then why not put out a public call? You know, there's so many bike repair shops, bike rental shops, you know, hopefully we could get somebody in. And I think a public call, as was mentioned, might, you know, attract somebody new to the committee who hasn't been involved in the past.
I have one more question, if I may,
Yeah.
about eligibility. What about, well, I guess, so the Bike Anchorage seat is the bike organization or something like that. Would other nonprofits or sort of community organizations count, or is this strictly like a for-profit business situation?
It's specifically a business organization. So I think that we do have a couple. We have like a public health organization and disability services organization and social services organization, community or environmental organization. So I think we're more looking for the business perspective for this seat.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yep. Good question.
All right, anything else on the first item?
Nope, I will, I'll wait to hear from anybody if you all have suggestions in the next few weeks. And maybe if we don't hear anything by early January, we'll work on getting a public call together. Does that work for the group?
I think that sounds great after the first of the year. Give us through the holidays to try to find somebody, and then we can put out a public call.
Great.
After the first of the year, after the holidays.
Great. Sounds good.
All right. So is somebody on from the traffic department to give us an update on the Pine Street Protected Bike Lane pilot project that we biked out to and visited?
Yes, we've got Zach Hartman. Thanks, Zach. Take it away.
Hi, yeah, my name is Zach Hartman. I work in the traffic department for the municipality of Anchorage. I'm the traffic calming, pedestrian, and bicycle coordinator. So as part of the bicycle side of that job, I contributed to the project team's effort on the pilot protected bike lane project that got its start this summer out on Pine Street. I'm gonna share my screen really quick. Sorry for the background noise, there's a toddler. Yes, okay, so here comes my screen. The project this summer, here's a quick photo of the project. Those of you that are familiar with it know that it was mostly flex posts and rubber curbs this time. The project ran from DeBar Road up Pine Street, where it turns into McCary Street, and then over the Glen Highway to Mountain View Drive. The project was spurred on by the DOT department, the research and technology transfer, and the whole goal of it was to learn how to pull off one of these protected bike lane projects. You know, we don't have them in Anchorage, so we wanted to learn kind of the nuts and bolts of how to pull them off down to the nitty-gritty details. It was just 1 month this time. We learned a lot about logistics, so materials kind of showed up late. So just through the month of September this last summer, we had all the devices installed. And like I said, it was a joint effort. DOT has the research program. They supplied the money, and the municipality worked hand in hand with them alongside Bike Anchorage. Thank you to Emily and Alexa. And the consultants on the contract were CRW, Kittleson, and Huddle. We have gotten some data so far. Admittedly, we are focusing on next summer, which I'll get to in a moment, So we don't have a full clear picture of all the data we collected. It's sitting on a hard drive right now, including lots and lots of video. So we'll get actual counts of how many folks rode bikes and walked through the corridor. In terms of cars, we do have the car data, of course, and we did see a 10% reduction in the amount of cars that drove through the corridor. So that was interesting to see. In my mind, I like to think that's all because those people chose to ride their bike instead of drive, but there was likely a lot of people that decided not to drive on Pine Street because they had to go slower. And they went a lot slower, we found. We did some speed studies, and for southbound traffic, there was some decrease in average travel speed. There's some parking on that side, so they're kind of going a little bit slower already. The amount of people driving the speed limit, which was 30 miles per hour, increased by 10% for southbound traffic. And for northbound traffic, driver speeds, a 40% increase in obeying the speed limit. So that's a pretty big change in the amount of drivers going the speed limit. And then the extreme speeders, in the before condition, we had 1 or 2 per 100 drivers going 50 miles per hour over. And in the during condition, we recorded 6,300 cars and only recorded 1 going over 50. So from 2 per 100 to 1 per 6,300 is a pretty big shift in the extreme speeders. So I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of traffic calming that happened during this project. It wasn't new in Anchorage, obviously, so there was a lot of feeling out, but that's, a good benefit. It makes it more comfortable to ride a bike, but it also slowed cars down a lot. So now I'm going to flash forward to our very preliminary plans for next summer. Our goal is to have a project that goes through downtown. Our consultant team did a great job of combing through all the streets in Anchorage. The goals in the AMAT's non-motorized plan informed this selection process a lot. And we wanted to find something downtown because there's not much in the way of safe, comfortable bicycle facilities downtown. It's illegal to ride on sidewalks, so it seemed like a good fit. So this route you can hopefully see here in red is kind of what we imagined as a connection between the Chester Creek Trail on the south side right there by the park strip that connects to the pathway leading to Chester Creek. And on the west end, that is Elderberry Park. So this kind of can get you from those trail system arteries into and through downtown. We're also taking all the lessons we learned last time and hoping for a longer duration pilot. We're going to get it installed as soon as we can. We can't control the weather, but we're putting all the contingencies in place that we can to get this out as early as we can to get the full use out of it the whole summer. We also heard a lot from people that really loved the bike lane and people really hated the bike lane about a 2-way bike lane. Why not try that? That surprised me. I didn't expect people to want that, but we figured in the context of a pilot, we could try it out. So that's what we anticipate to test out this upcoming summer is a 2-way bike facility. You can kind of see it on the bottom right. Both bike lanes in both directions will be on one side of the vehicle traveled lanes. And again, in the spirit of trying things out and this 2-way bike lane, there's some odd signalization elements to it. So we're hoping to test out specific bike signals. It's like your red, yellow, green signal, but it has a little bicycle symbol on it. So not many jurisdictions across the US have those. So we're excited to try those out and again, learn all the lessons, the pros and cons. And then lastly, we're going to try out some different bike lane protection materials. Like I mentioned earlier on Pine Street, we did the plastic flex posts and rubber curb, learned the good and bad of those. And we're hoping to test out some different stuff, some stronger stuff. We know A and 6 is a little bit bigger than Pine Street. So that's a quick run through on 2024. We don't have a clear vision yet because this is very early plans, but I'm happy to answer any questions people might have about Pine Street or where we're headed next summer.
I think Mike has his hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, do you have any sense of the speed reductions for other projects that give us a sense? I mean, those numbers seem pretty spectacular to me, but I don't have any context to know kind of, is that really as big as it seems, or do we have any way to kind of measure that against other projects that have tried to reduce speeds and how effective those were.
Yeah, so part of my other job duties and my role is as the traffic calming coordinator. And, that means like speed humps on local roads and things like that. So it's a little bit different context. So it's not really apples to oranges. But yeah, off the cuff, I would say this traffic calming effect was greater than you'll see in most things. I don't want to say that, it's all because of the flex posts. A pretty significant part of that, I think, is something brand new that a lot of Anchorage drivers have literally never seen or conceived of. You see a speed hump in front of you and you'll slow down, but it's not, some alien thing that is surprising you. So I'm still excited to look at the data on 6th Street, after 2-3 months of this going in place and see what that traffic calming effect. But yeah, it was fantastic and more than even I expected with my experience with speed humps and other traffic calming devices.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks. I look forward to seeing the rest of the analysis.
Any other questions or comments for Zach? So Zach, this is Daryl. I'm curious on the 6th Avenue route that we're looking at for next summer. Are the bike lanes going to be on the north or south side of 6th Avenue? Because I know there's a lot of on-street parking on the south side.
Yeah, you're very keen, Daryl. The north side is the side that we're planning to go with. The parking is a big thing. That would be a challenge to move all that parking and have it probably be floating between the vehicle lanes and the bike lane as we did on Pine Street. But also it's a very heavy transit corridor. So that would end up having bikes and buses kind of be weaving, which we also wanted to avoid. Yeah, so for those couple reasons and other reasons, it's on the north side of 6th Ave, so running right by the PAC and Town Square Park. And then if you're thinking about A Street, it's all on the west side, so close to the school there and right by the museum.
I think that's a good move. I think it has much greater chance of success than trying to do it on the south side. I think Sean had his hand up and then Mike.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. 6 and A are both arterials. Why would we target arterials for a bike lane? Why wouldn't it be like 9th and I don't know. I don't know if I have an alternative to A, but why would you target those higher volume traffic routes?
That's a good question. There's a handful of different reasons, but general guidance on the bikeways is that there's the FHWA bikeway selection guide, but on slower streets, maybe 9th isn't a perfect example of that, but those are the types of roads where you don't need a protection barrier. Traffic is slower, there's less of the traffic. So when you're on roads that have more cars and have faster cars, that's where you want that dedicated facility that has better and stronger protection. So the bigger roads like the AC, 5th, 6th, those are the roads that are right for protection to make that bike facility safe and comfortable for all ages and abilities.
Just seems to me that you would try to create routes that bikes wouldn't have conflicts with those heavy traffic volume roads like Pine. Pine isn't huge traffic volume, but rather than putting them on, say, Boniface or something like that, just selecting Pine. But anyway, just observation.
Yeah, I agree with that. The future of the Anchorage bike network is not just protected bike lanes on big, fast arterials. The low stress network where people can get from their house to a road like A Street or whatever to get to their final destination is important too. But yeah, there's going to be conflicts with big arterials like that. So I think that's why it's important to have the good infrastructure that protects everyone. A couple more hands up.
Mike, and then Lindsay.
Yeah, you kind of answer. My question was similar there because I had envisioned there's been talk about G Street becoming a non-motorized street, but that doesn't really connect anything. And your answer about putting it on an arterial, kind of, that's where we do have conflicts with bikes and I know I feel nervous as hell on A Street when I'm riding my bike. So I'd be interested to see how the feel of A Street changes when there's a bike lane there. So I'm good.
Yeah, if I could wave my magic wand and have like low speed, low stress, like neighborhood type roads leading from my house to everywhere in Anchorage, I would do that for sure. But there's lots of other challenges in place too.
Yeah, my comment is kind of on the similar vein. I really appreciate that this pilot will be downtown. I know the Downtown Community Council and lots of businesses are really supportive of getting dedicated bike infrastructure downtown, since you have to bike in the roadways and there's nowhere really safe to do that. And if I could wave a magic wand, I would also extend the pilot along A Street, even into Midtown. We have a dedicated bike lane, north of Fireweed, and it's super wide. All of the driving lanes are really wide, but people drive really fast, especially, as you head down to the Chester Creek. So a barrier in a pilot would be excellent. And people walk and bike along that corridor all the time. So I would love to see that extended. And then, of course, the focus for what you showed us is where there isn't a bike lane on A Street into downtown. So having one, excellent, because we would love it to be extended and connected. And really trying something new out for 6th and 5th Avenue. That's something that as a community, a lot of our plans are moving towards. And even though there's a lot of flow of traffic, it's not crazy high volumes that you can't have safe bicycle infrastructure. So I would love to see that kind of innovation and see if we can handle it as a city and as a community, and maybe make something permanent further down the line. And I would just also plug that these arterials, or even some of the bigger collectors, are how we get to places. And so doing a pilot here where you get to places is very exciting, because it's great to see the data from Pine, and pushing and building on it even further with this pilot program, and this testing and research-based approach is really exciting. So thanks for showing us this idea, and it'll be something that we can, go to the community and share and spread the word, especially before and as it happens. So thanks for the update, and just encourage you and invite you to keep coming back.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for having me. Your comment one reminded me to wrap in another comment that I didn't bring up earlier, but another part of this upcoming summer that means a lot to me is that 6th and A Street are DOT roads. Pine Street is municipality owned. So this summer will also include a lot more collaboration between those two agencies to figure out how to do this. With this concept, we've kind of got into that a little bit. We had literally had our first meeting with some technical staff at DOT this week, and it was a great conversation. We had, DOT maintenance staff there, right-of-way staff, traffic staff, and then all those other parts on the muni side. And it was amazing to have all those people together. So we're all learning these lessons and kind of, getting through these growing pains, I guess I'll say, together. So I'm excited for the bike lane and how fun that'll be, but what it means for Anchorage as a whole as well. So yeah. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Zach? Zach, this is Daryl. I'll just tell you, I am so looking forward to this project. I've worked downtown in City Hall for 11 years now, and I've seen the conflicts, and I have had multiple APD officers tell me they do not force people off the sidewalks on their bicycles. They've issued one ticket in the last 6 years because the officers tell me we are not going to force people to ride their bikes in the streets because they're so dangerous and they weren't constructed with bicycles in mind. So, and so even the police know of all the conflicts. Even though it's illegal to ride your bike on the sidewalks, they generally don't cite people or force them off the sidewalks because they think the streets are so dangerous for bicycles. And I think that's very telling when you hear that from the police.
Yeah, it kind of stinks that downtown Anchorage is kind of a black hole for biking, but some of the laws and the infrastructure kind of makes it that way. So hopefully we can small step in a different direction.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Zach. We
Yeah,
look
thank
forward
you.
to hearing from you again in the future. And that will bring us to, I don't have an agenda. What is our next item?
Sorry, Daryl. The next item is the Alaska Active Transportation Coalition update from Jesse.
Awesome.
Hi, that's
Jesse.
me. Hello. Sorry, I don't have a camera. It was working and now it's not, so you just get to see my beautiful photo from 2 years ago. So I'm I'm with the Department of Health, section of Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, and our unit is Physical Activity and Nutrition. And Julius Adelson and I are co-leading the Alaska Active Transportation Coalition while we're between contractors. So earlier on in this last about year and a half now since we started, we had Lee Hart from Alaska Outdoor Alliance. She was amazing. She got us started, got our feet under us, really got an action plan ready, and got our mission and our vision and everything all set in. We did a prioritization study within the group to determine our top 3 priorities for 23 and 24, which ended up being to authorize complete streets policy, build the coalition's capacity, and then a tie for improving snow clearing efforts and enhancing vulnerable road user laws. So what we're wanting to do is kind of move that forward within the group. So like I said, Julius and I went ahead and we're co-chairing right now until we get a new contractor on. Our last meeting was in November on the 13th. We had about 20 people, which is a good round number for that. Very grateful for being able to meet in person up in Fairbanks for Confluence back in September, so we could kind of round in some other folks and gather up more cross-sectional industry into the coalition as well. During our last meeting, we went ahead and we reviewed the action plan, which it's really broad. So we kind of wanted to streamline things down and make sure there wasn't any duplicative work happening. Something like with the strategic highway safety plan, we're kind of working on bits and pieces of it. And there's a lot of us that have multiple hats on. So we wanted to just make sure that we weren't really kind of doing little bits of things and then not really talking to one another. So we also took a look at the seasonal maintenance for best practice peer review. That rose up pretty highly, especially with the giant snowfall that we just had. We also were going to take a look at reviewing and revising vulnerable road user laws, which is currently in process, and we welcome any assistance if anybody wants to come and join us. There's been some really cool talking about bike-friendly businesses in the smaller communities and how there's some advocacy work happening just in folks who are driving around and they have really cool bumper stickers, or there's % off if you go to this shop or that shop, and then that money is then kind of forwarded along to an advocacy group as well. So we're looking at potentially doing something like that in other communities, or even looking at a statewide system for something like that as well, which I think would be really cool to have it kind of standardized across the state. We're always looking for legislative advocates to go ahead and talk to the legislators, the senators, anybody that you can kind of bend their ear. And we have a person on staff, Mackenzie Pope, and not staff, I do mean volunteer. She's been really, really vocal, and she's got some really great inroads with some folks who are interested and invested in active transportation. And then there's the education campaign that we're also going to be working on, which is really to just have folks who are driving understand better the rules of the road, because perhaps they don't quite have those really down, all of us who got our licenses 30 years ago, right? Right, I know. So just one other thing I wanted to mention is the next Confluence is going to be actually here in Anchorage. It's going to be in April of 2024, and I can drop the link to the Alaska Outdoor Alliance website for that. That's Lee Hart again. It sounds like it's going to be more active transportation focus, but that's just hearsay. So we'll have more information on that. And then really big project that the coalition is kind of coming together to work on is a white paper that we're getting to elevate the coalition from this kind of base level advocacy group, bringing everybody together into a committee with the ear of the governor, perhaps the ear of DOT commissioner, and DOH commissioner, really making sure that we can align all of our interests and move that information forward in kind of a collaborative and comprehensive way. So when we have more information on that, I can share as well. But right now we're doing some tweaking and things like that. And once it's finalized, I'll go ahead and send that link out. And then one last thing, our next meeting is January 18th. We just got that nailed down at noon. So if anyone wants to come, go ahead and drop your email into the chat and I'll add you to the mailing list. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Jesse? I think Lindsay, oh, no, you're clapping. Any comments, questions? Thank you, Jesse. I think we would all be interested in the Confluence conference next April. So when you get that information, if you could share it, please.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And that brings us up to AMAT's planning projects. Is that Aaron or Chelsea or a combination?
We'll do a little tag team, Daryl. Thank you.
Awesome.
This is
Thank you.
Chelsea. I'll start it off with the MTP. So I'm still finishing up helping with this, the 2050 MTP, which is our current draft MTP, where the active one is the 2040 that I'm sure you're all very familiar with. And we're looking at, we've done a synthesis of the comments for the 2050 draft from the public comment period we had in August and September. We brought those comments to the Technical Advisory and Policy Committee to get their feedback on making any changes based on the comments, and we got some changes from the Policy Committee that had us make some switching around of the project list. And now we're just cleaning up all those changes and also, you know, grammar and formatting changes, which, you know, if we're gonna publish a document, we want it to be as clean as possible. So cleaning up all of that and getting everything buttoned up and responding to all the great comments that we got, so that everybody that provided comments gets their feedback as well. And then bringing all of that back to the committees, the Technical Advisory and Policy Committees in January to hopefully get the final approval from them. And I guess I should also say we also just closed comments on the air quality conformity determination, which wasn't likely affected by the changes that the Policy Committee made. So that was sort of going on concurrently so that we could wrap things up as quickly as possible, but making sure that we're not skipping any steps. So hopefully get that finalized. And thank you to many of you that provided comments on that. I'm happy to share any specific details if folks have questions on the MTP process. Go for it, Diana.
Hi, I just wondered, could you maybe describe what actually happened at the policy committee? What did they approve?
Yes, let me just pull it up here so I don't get anything, and I should have had it ready to go. Apologies, I knew that was your question. So what they did was, and apologies again that I don't have a camera, just technical challenges. I will fix that for next time. They reduced the cost of in the MTP. So we have several different planning documents, and the MTP is the long range plan. So looking at 2050. So this doesn't immediately affect the tip. They would have to make, they would have to make this change for the tip to have it affect the tip. So I just hope this isn't too confusing for folks. I know there's a lot of moving pieces here, but so in the MTP, they reduced the Seward Highway O'Malley to Diamond Boulevard Phase 2 project that was listed originally in the MTP at 105 million, and that was based on the cost that was in the tip, and they reduced that cost to 40 million. And that allowed them to reallocate, because the MTP is a fiscally constrained plan, that gave them then $65 million to reallocate. So they moved some of that funding to adding the Artillery Road interchange project back into the MTP, or I guess I shouldn't say back in, they added it in. It was one of the nominated projects, but it didn't score high enough to make the initial cut based on the scoring criteria, which is why we come back, which is why we take the, project list to the public to get their feedback, and then, final approval goes through the policy committee, so that, scoring criteria is very helpful for making initial broad brushstrokes based on perspectives from the public. That the scoring criteria also went through public feedback, but those changes can happen later. So sorry, I'm droning on here a little bit, but anyways, so the Artillery Road was added, which included the Artillery Road pathway connection from the Glen Highway pathway at that interchange. Additionally, they increased the cost of two complete streets projects, one on Gamble between 3rd and 15th, and one on Ingra between 3rd and 15th. They basically just increased the project cost of those, and those were longer term projects. They didn't come from the tip, but they took those project costs from 22.3 million to 37.5 million to turn Gamble and Ingra into complete streets between 3rd and 5th and 15th, excuse me. They took out the, they added in, they wanted the Eagle River Road Rehabilitation Project, which is happening between milepost 0 to 5.2 from the Old Glen to Oriedner Road. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they wanted that project description to explicitly include a separated multi-use pathway. And then for the Old Glen Highway project from Eagle River Loop Road to North Eagle River Access Road, which is that Eagle River Access Road is basically the North Eagle River exit interchange. It comes off of that. They wanted to take out the lane removal that was explicitly stated in the project description. So we're just taking out that part of the project description and adding improved traffic calming and improved transportation facilities. And then they made sort of two kind of broader brush changes. One is we did get a lot of public comments about a variety of different project descriptions that we would like to support the changes to the project descriptions, or they told us that we should support changes to the project description if it doesn't modify the project such that it would change the scope and would need to be rescored. So for example, an example of that would be, consider noise impacts when doing a project. So that would be something that we would add to a project description that might not already be there. And we did get quite a long list of those types of additions. So we're going through with a pretty fine-tooth comb on those comments to make sure that we're getting all those things added. And then very minor changes to goals and objectives in a similar vein. We got an example to change objective 3G, instead of saying design and maintain, to say design, construct, and maintain. So again, really not trying to change the intent of the original language, because the goals and objectives went through their own public process and were approved on their own as part of the whole planning effort. So we don't want to take away from that effort that was already made. But given that we did put the whole document out, we also want to, try to be as responsive to the public comments that we received as possible. So minor changes. And then, as I mentioned, formatting and grammar, we want to make sure that our spelling is right, and we've got our punctuation down, and we're not hiding things that we shouldn't be hiding in formatting. So those those were the detailed changes. Hopefully I didn't
Thank
lose
you.
too much in there. It's a lot to keep track of.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions about the MTP, and then I can keep us going on the project updates. Okay, the Complete Streets plan, that RFP to hire a team to help us with that closes tomorrow. So we did have quite a few different teams show up for the question pre-bid that we had, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago now. So excited to see what proposals we'll get back with that, and then we'll score and rank those and hopefully get that moving along as quickly as possible as purchasing and other processes permit. And then I will quickly share, as I mentioned, the UMed plan here. John just wanted to send along a brief update. John Cecil with AMATS was the project manager on this one. So the Destination UMed final plan and strategy toolkit are wrapped up and were submitted at the Technical Advisory and Policy Committee September meetings for approval. And they received that. The study represents 18 months of intensive work by the consultant team, project management team, and community advisory committee with great input from the public. The study was an implementation item from the 2016 UMed district plan and represented a robust community planning effort that calls for a mix of land uses throughout UMed to allow for shorter trips between destinations to reduce the barrier to travel distance for people who walk and bike. And with the lessons learned from Destination UMed study, AMATS and the municipality are continuing to explore future opportunities to address similar transportation challenges in other parts of Anchorage with travel demand management and other innovation transportation strategies. I'm happy to take any questions on that and pass them along to John, or maybe Aaron could pinch hit for him if there are any. Okay, and then I will pass it over to, oh, Diana, did you have one?
Well, I just wanted to say that Anchorage Park Foundation got a small grant from the Rails to Trails Conservancy, and we have taken one of the items, of the many items from that plan, which is a wayfinding scope, and we're working with some of the participants of that committee. We sent it out to the UAA, APU, John Cecil has been coming to them. And then I'm trying to think, a few others, but we've come up with a route for like a route that for walking and biking, like kind of it's a loop. It's also directly through connecting the Campbell Creek Trail to the Chester Creek Trail, but through campus, just in the hopes of getting people to understand there are safe pathways through the corridor and to try to encourage them to use those non-motorized options more. So more on that as we work through the grant, but we're going to be working with those stakeholders to design some wayfinding. I don't know if we don't have enough money to pay for it, so we'll be applying for grants to pay for the wayfinding, but it's a pretty great project to get to look at the plan and then try to implement at least one piece of it. So thank you.
Awesome. It's wonderful when plans are implementable and being used as such. Thanks for that update. And I will pass it over to Aaron for a safety plan update.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. So we have finished most of the work on the safety plan, which we're really excited about, as it's AMATS's first safety plan. The consultant is working on the document. So I am doing reviews of the text information right now before we put it into the design. And then we hope to bring it back sometime in the beginning of the new year to the TAC and Policy Committee for final approval. So we still got a little bit more left, but we're hoping to wrap that up. So thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. And one last item on AMAT's project updates. I'm going to share a link in the chat as part of the Technical Advisory Committee meeting. There's fourth quarterly project updates, or excuse me, AMAT's project updates as part of the next Technical Advisory Committee. So you can look into all the different projects that AMAT's is working on if you're interested in that. Okay, I think I'm done, Daryl, thanks.
Is that also on the AMAT's webpage, correct?
Yep.
That's what I thought. There's a lot of great information on the webpage. I would encourage my fellow committee members to visit the AMAT's webpage if you haven't recently. Thank you, Chelsea and Aaron. So that brings us to committee comments. Any comments from committee members? I see Emily has her hand up.
Yeah, this is a question for staff, if I may, and I'm not trying to get inside information if it's not public. But I was just wondering if Joni's position is still being advertised or if there's any updates on that, and if not, that's totally fine.
Yes, the position is still open. It's concurrent until it's filled. So if you know of anyone, we're really encouraging everybody to apply. Look at what Chelsea did. She joined the team and is helping to really shape things up. So if you know somebody like that, we would love to have them apply. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Any other committee comments, questions, concerns?
I had requested that we look at maybe changing the meeting date. I mean, this is just a day that I teach yoga, but I know that every day is a busy day. So I just wondered if there was a show of hands for if this is working with folks, that is fine. I can make it work. But if people did want to move from a Monday to another day, that would be interesting to take a look at too.
Yeah, there are no other days that I can consistently do, but that's just me.
Katie says that Monday or Tuesday are her only options.
And something maybe to consider that may not work for everybody in the committee, but some of our other committees do meet during the day if evenings aren't the best for folks. I know just another option if that would open things up at all, but that also may not be an option for folks. So just wanted to throw it out there.
I think most of our committee members, if not all, have daytime jobs, and it might be difficult. I think that's why BPAC has always met in the evenings.
That's fine. I mean, I can make it work. I'm late today. It wasn't too bad, but I can definitely do it.
All right. Any other committee comments? I have one comment. I think our next meeting is March. Is that right, Chelsea?
Yes.
So at our March meeting, we will be electing a committee chair and vice chair. So I hope people will think about nominating themselves or others for chair and vice chair. We're supposed to elect our chair and vice chair at the first meeting of the year. And I realized recently, I don't think we've done it for about 3 years. So we're overdue. So think about it. Aaron.
Hi, I know I'm not a member of the committee, but I was just thinking about it. You reminded me. So your guys' next meeting is in March. If you didn't see the TAC agenda, we did post that for their meeting this Thursday, and on there, there's amendment number 2 to the tip. That's making some pretty significant changes to the tip overall. So the plan is to have that put out for a 45-day public comment period in January and half of February. So I don't know if you all want to take a look at that and see if you want to meet, while that's out, because it'll be before your next meeting. So, just a heads up on that.
I won't speak for everyone, but I suspect there will probably be a willingness among committee members to have a special meeting if need be. So if everybody could take a look at that and, let Chelsea and Aaron know if you think we should meet during the 45-day comment period, if we need to make comments. Any other committee comments? Staff comments?
Can we give it just a real quick overview, Aaron, on what they're proposing?
There's 7 pages of notes. The memo is 7 pages long, so no, I can't really. So I would strongly recommend you go in and take a look at everything that is changing. Because every single table in the tip, except for the pavement preservation list, is having some kind of change to it. And I also will just say it's not finalized, like it's not final to be put out for the public yet. This is just the TAC version. It could change between the TAC policy committee and what's put out for the public. I just wanted you all to get a heads up since it's out there to, start maybe taking a look at it between now and when the policy committee sees it.
That's a long memo. That means there's a lot of changes.
Yeah, and some of the changes are in response to corrective actions we received from FHWA during our certification review. So they have to be done. So they're there for people to comment on, but we really have to do them.
Cool. I'm going to take a look. I hope we all take a look at it.
Yeah, and I'd put in a plug for watching the TAC meeting either live this Thursday or it is recorded and available afterwards, because that'll be a good chance to kind of get the overview and the Cliff Notes version of the 7 pages, probably from Aaron.
That's a good idea. So any other comments, thoughts from committee members or staff? That takes us to public comments. I believe. Oh, Lindsay's got her hand up.
I was just gonna say that everyone be safe. It's of course been a tough year per usual, but it's especially icy and fast and slick. And I biked today with my studded tires and my cleats on my feet, and so just be really safe out there. And yeah, the perpetual challenge of safe streets year round is where we're at right now.
As I walked Tigger to doggy daycare this morning, I navigated the very icy sidewalks. It was interesting. So yeah, be careful out there. I think Mark has his hand up.
Oh, good evening, everybody. Mark Eisman, DOT. I'm the Anchorage Area Planner, if you don't know me. I just wanted to put it on your guys' radar. If you guys haven't seen it, Greatland Trust and the Muni are putting the big Potter Marsh what is it called? Potter Marsh Watershed Park, potentially down in South Anchorage. And it's going to have lots of new trails, or at least legitimize a lot of those trails, but I think there potentially could be a lot of issues with access and parking. So just something to keep your eyes on, and something I wanted to make you guys aware of if you didn't know about it already.
Is that something, Chelsea, maybe we could get a presentation on in March?
I will do my best to keep track of it and see if there's a way to do that. Yes.
Awesome, thanks. Did somebody else raise their hand? I thought I saw a hand. Maybe That brings us to public comments. Do any members of the public have comments? I'm waiting a second because there's some people on the telephone. All right. I don't hear anybody. Any last words of wisdom before we adjourn?
I would just say thank you for being flexible with me for my first meeting. I will do my best to not make mistakes twice, but technology is always a challenge. So thank you, everybody.
Chelsea, you did great.
Thanks,
Thanks
Yeah,
Dan.
for doing it too.
The calendar
Awesome
thing
job.
was totally my fault. I see your update now and I've got it for next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Thanks.
I see you
Bye-bye.
all in the new year. Bye.
Happy New Year.